Hi, I'm Dr. Jacob Persley. I lived in Turkey for 15 years and I've lived in the country of Armenia the last 4 years. And I'd like to explain what I believe as a new find and a new thesis that has to do with an area in Armenia called Karahunj. And I'd like to explain the connection between Karahunj, Armenia, and the narrative in the Bible in the book of Genesis with Noah's Ark. But before I do that, let's get some context. Where is Armenia? So Armenia is located right, I believe, in the center of the world. If you look at the map, it's Azerbaijan is to the east, Turkey is to the west, Georgia in the northern Caucasus region is to the north, Iran and Nakhchivan are to our south, and Armenia is right in the center. It was a Christian nation founded in the year 301 AD, the very first recognized Christian nation, has a deep historical Christian roots. That's where we're located. And that's where this find, Karahunj, is located. So this map is a little difficult to see, but in Armenia, in the province of the southern province called Siunik province, near the town of Sisian, there is what they call Armenia's Stonehenge, Karahunj. And that is my point of interest today. And I have a different thesis than what's been posited there and what's currently known about Karahunj, and that's why I'm doing this presentation. I think it's going to bring tourism into Armenia, and I'm going to make some connections here, and I hope that you'll follow. One of the things that I want you to see is the proximity of modern-day Turkey and modern-day Armenia. Now, all of this used to be historical Armenian lands in the greater empire of Armenia, but since then, the Turks have taken regions of what was originally Armenia. And this mountains of Ararat are located in the country of Turkey today, modern day country of Turkey. And but every single day from Yerevan, I'm able to see the mountains of Armenia. It's such a beautiful city and it's a beautiful view. And one thing I wanted to say too, I'm a missionary. And I've done a lot of missions work in these regions. In fact, we actually have a church of Kurdish people that meet on the mountains of Ararat every Sunday. They're converts. They were former Muslims. Now they've placed their faith in Jesus Christ. So there's some exciting things happening in the Christian world, but let's go back to the subject of Karahunj. And really the importance for the Armenian people. You know, what's really interesting is the state seal for the country of Armenia, national seal, I should say, has the mountains of Armenia right in the center of their shield. And on the top, do you see this little object right there? That is the representation of Noah's Ark. It's always orally been passed down in tradition that that's where this landed. And in the book of Genesis, it also says that the Noah's Ark landed on the mountains of Ararat, and it happens to be on the Armenian seal. And I could talk more about this, but we're going to move on. And here's another representation of the Ark. There, centered of the world, that's where all humans went from after the Ark landed. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and they went all over the world from there. But again, it's the Karahunj find and the connection with our mountains of Ararat is very, very important. Let me explain why. When you read in the Bible is not just a storybook. It's God's revealed word. And we can learn about history and the truth about history and the right presuppositions. Right now, if you are studying Karahunj, and if you've ever been there, I'm going to skip ahead just a second. I want you to see Karahunj. There is an astronomical theory that came about in the 90s. Astronomers and other researchers went to this site in Armenia, and they said that this was the site of pagan rituals, kind of a sacred site. It was maybe similar to the Stonehenge found in England, and that the stones that you see that have the holes drilled in them, and there's around 84, maybe a little bit more than that in that region, that these stones are looking to different areas in the sky, different stars, and this was a sacred area. And that is currently their thesis and their theory, and I visited Karahunj many, many times, and I believe that the thesis is actually very lacking, and the reason why is worldview. worldview is so important when you're doing research, when you're doing any kind of study, because if you're coming at any subject with a non-Christian, an atheistic worldview, you're going to exclude any other thesis or any other approach to that research subject. For example, they would have never connected this find in Karahunj and these interesting formations of stones with the holes drilled in them with the book of Genesis, because they're not coming from a Christian worldview and a Christian perspective that actually believes that the Bible is true and what Genesis says is real historical narrative. And here, I am a Christian, I'm an educator, I'm a missionary, and I also teach the Bible and other subjects. And when I looked at this, I saw something very interesting. But let me go back to, I wanted you to see this from the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 8, verses 4 through 5. It says this. Try to get out of the way so you can read it. It says, "And in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. And in the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen." Now, just as a side note, what mountains would have been seen by Noah and his family when the water was dissipating or abating and was going down? Well, the tops of the mountains, there's only one mountain that could have been seen in that entire region where the mountains of Ararat is. And that mountain today happens to be in the country of Armenia. It's called the Mount Aragats. And I just want you to see the first thing that Noah and his family would have seen. Right here, Mount Aragats in Armenia. It's it goes up to almost 12,000 feet, and of course it would have been taller at the time because there's been a volcano since then, blew it out. But that's also located in Armenia. You can see the first thing that Noah would have seen, the tops of the mountains were seen. That's just a side note. Now let's go back to Karahunj. So as you see these stones, the original thesis from these people with more of an atheistic, secular worldview, as they approach the research, where, this has to be for astronomy or a pagan ritual site for some kind of worship. And when I looked at them, I connected the book of Genesis, and I also connected my travels in Turkey. I had lived in Turkey for 15 years. I've been on Mount Ararat before, and I thought to myself, I've seen these exact same stones with the same drilled holes in them on the mountains of Ararat. And archaeologists before me, and I want to be very clear on this, I am not an archaeologist. My PhD is not in archaeology. My PhD is in intercultural studies, but I've had to study ancient history, read primary source documents when I do my research, and I understand research pretty well and how you come to have a thesis and then you make a conclusion. And my conclusion is very different, and I actually think mine has a lot more grounds than the other. And that's why I'm talking about this today. So when I was going there, I saw the connection between the mountains of Ararat and the same stones there. And I just want you to see in Karahunj, again, the stones that they have these holes in them. The holes are not all looking up into the sky. Most of them are looking down into the ground. And so there's really no rhyme or reason. There's no pattern that you can determine that they're looking at this constellation or this one. It's not like that. It's not, you have to have a wild imagination for that to happen. And you have to come from a different background. Again, you'll see some of the stones. You can see the area. And you can see that the stones are curved like this. Just see some of the pictures. My thesis is this, Noah's Ark, the Ark of Noah, that God had told Noah to build to save him and his family from the coming flood because of judgment that was coming upon the earth because of the sins of people and what they were doing. He had him build this ark, and that these stones were actually ancient anchor stones or ballast stones that would have kept the ship stable, for one, and two, that there would have been actually anchors. And all of ancient history, nautical history, archaeological history points to that these are actual anchor stones. And I'm going to show that in a second. But you'll see these everywhere. This is the area that it's found in. Another reason that these people that have this idea about astronomy and these stones are not they're not taking into consideration is the Bible. And one of the reasons they would never think they're anchor stones because The elevation of this is about 5,300 feet above sea level. So there's no way they're thinking, well, how would there be water up here? And why would there be so many anchor stones located in one location? Well, I have an idea about this. From this location, Karahunj, if you go direct, straight flight, straight across to the mountains of Ararat, so imagine you're on a boat, it's only around 50 miles, maybe 60 miles from Karahunj to the mountains of Ararat where Noah's Ark rested. And what I believe is the water was going down, that Noah and his sons, they were cutting off the ballast stones. They weren't needed anymore, and the boat was continuing. It maybe started to drag along the way, so they cut it off, and it continued. And it actually does look like that when you're looking at the, hold on here. When you're looking at the way the stones are, it's like it was systematically dropped off on either side. Now, when I first saw this, and I read about the astronomical theory, I thought to myself, this just doesn't make sense. That's really silly. And my thesis at that time was even more silly, because I was joking with two of my friends, and I said, it's like people came up here, they dropped these stones off in this pattern, and this is where they used to tie the circus down. It looked like you tied rope in each of the holes, and it would tie some kind of a tent down. Of course, I was joking when I said that. And then all of a sudden I remembered, oh yeah, I've seen these stones before. This was on the mountains of Ararat. And again, you can see the area, kind of how they could have been dropped off along the way. This is what's found on the mountains of Ararat. Stones like these. Again, the Armenians used to, the land of Ararat used to be theirs. And they did carve crosses on those stones at that time. So it looks very similar to what you find in Karahunj. And not only that, this is what I find interesting, is the further research I went into, you find these stone anchors everywhere in the world, especially in this region, in the Middle East, Mediterranean and so forth. This was from the BBC. It says that they found these in the Roman port. They look exactly like the ones that you can find on Karahunj. You go to New Zealand. They have found ancient these anchor stones all over New Zealand. They have them in museums. You can look at it right there. You can see how they tied the ropes on it, kind of what my idea was. And in Haifa Museum, they have this whole display of the anchor stones there. Again, very similar. In fact, I was looking, you can actually buy an anchor stone online. It looks like the ones found there on Karahunj, they're selling from $500 to $800 a piece. And again, this is from another museum in New Zealand, and you can see the same style. Again, there's thousands of examples of these all over the world. Also, there was a study that was done in the International Journal of Nautical Archaeology in the year 2002. And what they did is the researchers, from their investigations, it was all over the area located in modern day Turkey, and they took the stones out of the water and they classified them, they measured them. And again, as you look in the pictures, they look exactly like the ones that you can find, and they have different shapes, different sizes, very similar to what you would find in Karahunj. And this is a map, if you can see, of where they were found. And again, Armenia today is located over here, but all of this would have been ancient Armenia. And we're back to Karahunj, pictures that I took when I was there. This is something that needs to be looked at, it needs to be considered, and there needs to be another narrative for when tourists come to Karahunj. They can read about the idea of astronomy that's been currently held there for the last 20 or 30 years, but I believe that my theory holds more water, and it actually fits the biblical historical narrative found in the Bible. So if you come to Karahunj, consider this video. When you come to Armenia and you look at Mount Aragats, consider, this is the first thing that Noah saw. And I went to the Creation Research Museum recently, and also to the Ark Encounter run by Ken Ham and Mark Loy, and had meetings with them. And I'm trying to get their interest in coming here and making the connection so that they can also have a display in the Ark Encounter. If you don't know what the Ark Encounter is, it's located in Kentucky. They built a life-size wooden ark for people to go to. And it's not just about the ark and the boat and how the animals could have fit in the ark and how they would have fed the animals and all that. It's more than that. In fact, the ark represents Jesus Christ. The ark represents Jesus is the only one that people can place their faith in. For salvation, there's a coming judgment. The wrath of God is upon the world because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But Jesus says, I am the boat. Anybody who comes to me and trusts in me will have eternal life. They will be saved from the coming judgment. Really, that's what the Ark Encounter focuses on. And I'm trying to make the connection for Armenia and for them, and we'll see how that goes. They're very hospitable. I do want to say one more thing that has a connection with the Bible, the book of Genesis, and Armenia. Again, please come to Armenia. You've got to check these things out. It's just no coincidence that there's anchor stones near the mountains of Ararat and this verse right here. So Noah's vineyard in the area of Armenia. Okay, so what does this mean? So the first thing Noah did, what we see from Genesis chapter 9, verses 20 is this. He began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. And if you continue reading that verse, it says that he made wine. And what's fascinating is they have found the earliest known winery ever recorded. By archaeologists have identified this. It's located not more than probably 30 or 40 miles from the mountains of Ararat. And this is reported here by the National Geographic in 2011. The earliest known winery found in Armenian Cave. And here's another one that gives the approximate date, 6,100 years old. It's located in Areni. Okay, and Areni is still known for making wine. You can go through there. They have all the wineries, and you can buy wine. You can do wine tasting. Well, it's just fascinating that, again, I have not seen any connection made in Armenia between Noah being the first winemaker, and it just happens that in Armenia that they find and discover the first winemaking facility. That's not by coincidence. The Bible and Armenia have a very, very connected relationship with each other. And so when you come to Armenia, consider these things and come to Areni, come to Karahunj, look at it with a different perspective, and you're going to enjoy the country. It's a beautiful place to visit, and I hope to see you there. And thank you for listening to my presentation on Karahunj and my presentation with Areni and Aragats. May God bless you guys. Bye.